1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Monero Highway. Oh, excuse me. Can't even read what it says. Welcome to the Monero Highway. Just going to pop up to Canberra this morning, do a little wee job, come back home, back to Kuma Dooma, mate of mine calls it. Council briefing today. So I wonder if the demented goose and the big fat liar are going to turn up. We have to do more of the IP&R, integrated planning and reporting, which is it's interesting. It's a lot of time. We've done weeks and weeks, 3 or 4 hours a week, introduction to staff, introduction to the departments, what they each do. We've had fleet manager tell us how he runs and manages fleet. They have put telematics in. They have started to see some savings through the telematics or GPS tracking. I did have information in past years about abuse of fuel cards, where council people, council workers would fill up a council truck and they'd have a couple of jerry cans in the back tray, and they would top up the jerry cans with unleaded or sometimes diesel, depending, and that was for their cars at home. Certainly there was a story of one particular chap who would come in every Sunday afternoon in his wife's car and fill her car up on the council fuel card, because there never used to be any GPS, there was never any reconciliation, and the kilometres being entered were random. And that is an interesting introduction to who is Do-Nothing-Dunshea. Stephen Dunshea, our current acting interim general manager or chief executive officer. Because at the moment, Shoalhaven City Council has been doing a lot of internal investigation, and they've found out that they had an enormous vehicle fleet and continually buying new cars. There's a spreadsheet that's been published for this week's meeting, pages and pages and pages of new cars, D-Max Utes and Corolla, Hyundai Ascents and Corollas, and all kinds of stuff, all brand new, all bought by the council, and many of them say leaseback, some say operational, many of them say leaseback, which means that their staff have got them as a salary sacrifice or something. And one of the things when I met with Mayor Patricia White a couple of weeks ago in Nowra, she was telling me a bit about Do-Nothing-Dunshea and to watch out for him, because he's not very good at maths. And she told me a lot of other things, but one of the issues that Shoalhaven Council was grappling with was an extreme blowout in their fringe benefits tax, up to something like 700 and something thousand. I think it went from 40,000 to 700,000 or something like that. Massive increase because so many staff were getting cars, and apparently in the council meeting last night there was a comment that each car had a fuel card which was limited to $30,000 a month of fuel, which is a lot of fuel. That's a lot of fuel. And if they don't have the GPS telematics, if they don't put credible kilometre entries in, then there's no way you can track and reconcile those fuel cards. So it sounds like it was a bloody free-for-all. And that comes out of Dunshea's tenure as CEO with the Greens Mayor, Amanda Finley, and it was a Green Labor majority on the council. They all got, sorry, not all, the Greens all got booted out at the last election in Shoalhaven, and there's only a couple of Labor left. They are now the minority. That's what we need in snowy Monero. We need to get rid of these Green Labor muppets. And we need to get rid of the demented goose. That's my new favourite term. We'll come to that in a minute. Who is the demented goose? It flaps its wings and it honks incessantly. No one knows what it's talking about. To Do-Nothing-Dunshea, he came into our council for a 6-month placement because when I was elected, former General Manager, Chief Executive Officer David Hogan, he threw his toys in the corner and ran away. He acted unlawfully against me, tried to ban me. I called him his bluff. I did what's called a lay down misere, laid my legal letters on the table and said, just put your keys and your credit card on the table and fuck off, mate. And he did. And that was reported in the media, and that's apparently a negative on me. Oh, you made us lose a general manager. No, I made us lose a shit general manager. There's a difference. I'm not polite. I'm not going to be polite. I've been attacked incessantly. I mean, I'm actually gutted today. I tuned into the local radio and they weren't talking about me in their news broadcast. I'm disappointed. That's a joke. The attack has been phenomenal. Many people are shocked by the attack. The resource, Sydney Morning Herald, front page, double page spread. Nicole Overall in Parliament trying to hide behind parliamentary privilege because she's actually a venal coward. Word of the day, venal, V-E-N-A-L. Her skin is translucent. She is such a narcissist. You can see right through her. She thought she was the duck's guts a couple of weeks back in Parliament. She couldn't get elected, got parachuted. She says, oh, I rise to speak, acting deputy speaker. There's no one there to listen to her because they hate her. They know she's an idiot. If you look carefully at Nicole's video, there's two people. They are the duty government benches. They must have someone in the chamber and they are on duty to just sit there. There was nobody else to listen to Nicole. Nicole was talking to herself and the camera, which is what I do quite a lot as well. That's how it works. But Nicole has broken the law. So that little thing will unravel over time. And she went on Ben Fordham the next day, and she doesn't have parliamentary privilege on Ben Fordham, or Ben Boredom with a B, as I refer to him. And she thought she was special because she's on a national radio program talking about Andrew Thaler and announcing my federal election campaign. I hope you're not going to send me an invoice, Nicole, because I ain't paying it. You've given me free advertising. You've given me free public awareness. I will have to put a value down on my annual donation declaration. I don't know what it's worth, but you've been working hard for me. And then, of course, Nicole's little friend, Rocky Harvey, the dickhead with the sad mustache, he got all puffy and he was all important. He was posting everywhere and every notice board, Andrew's a bad man, we need to get him out of our council. And then I said, oh, who's actually the bad man, Rocky? Rocky owes the people he bought the cafe off, he owes them 30 grand, plus interest, plus legal fees. Who's the bad man, Rocky? You are, mate. Because you signed a contract, you mortgaged your house, and then you didn't pay. I mean, you're not just bad, you're stupid. You're stupid. And you're funny. But anyway, you gotta laugh. So I just keep telling the stories, driving my truck, doing my work, plodding along. There's not much else I can really do. There's no use getting upset about it. Just keep telling the stories. So Friday night this week, it'll be the 28th of March 2025, there will be the Snowy Mountains Business Awards, and this is where the Mayor has entered his business. And I spoke to the Mayor. I do speak to him occasionally. I try to avoid it, but it is inevitable. I mean, I keep asking him to resign because he's a fool. And I asked, he was annoyed that I'd criticised him that I had voted and encouraged everyone to vote for Main Street as opposed to his business. And then he tried to say, oh, but you're picking on my staff. I'm very rarely there, and it's my staff that nominated my business. Well, it's still your business, Chris. You're still the one that'll get up on stage like a gushing bride, grab the bouquet of flowers and gush, just like you did a couple of years ago when you won the awards and you were the president of the Coombe Chamber of Commerce who were hosting the awards. You see, Chris has no self-awareness. He doesn't realise that there's a massive conflict of interest, that as the mayor he should not nominate his business for a business award, particularly when his business supplies the council that he's the mayor of. That's the kind of shit fuckery, P-H-U-Q-U-E-R-Y, second word of the day, that we are trying to deal with down here. And we're trying to deal with various amounts of shit fuckery, PH, with Do-Nothing-Dunshea. So, last week we had a meeting in Bombala, and we only got through a couple of pieces of the agenda. We did deal with the Mikalago Quarry and the asbestos issues. It was quite a tortured debate because returning councillors didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to deal with the issue of the asbestos being dumped on land in breach of a DA, but they took no action despite knowing about it for the last 3 years, and community outrage and complaints and reports and site investigations by the compliance officer that doesn't know whether it's a boy or a girl. I'm allowed to say that. And there's a big question mark over the staff and their conduct in handling those reports and the asbestos and the contaminated mine water and all the bullshit that's been going on. So they tried to shut it down, they tried to stop it. Toward the end, there was a move to gag debate. Narelle Davis, the demented Goose, as somebody's labelled her, written a little story about it called the demented Goose. It's just perfect. She flapped her wings and honked her honker and proposed an alternate motion to the one that we were debating, which was to conduct an investigation, appoint other staff than those who have been involved, because there's problems with those that have been involved. They haven't done their job. There was a whole range of sort of discussions that we need to formally refer the matter to the New South Wales Environment Protection Authority and the WorkSafe Authority, because asbestos is a big issue and our council is clearly unable to deal with it. And the honking goose said, honk, 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 I've got an alternate motion. Honk, honk, honk. It started reading out the alternate motion. And of course, the mad goose is sitting next to me, and so I just read the email on her computer. She hadn't written her own motion as an alternate motion. She was reading an email sent on the 19th of March at 4:04 p.m. from David Rawlings, who's the Chief Strategy Officer, or in other words, if you're not following our area too well, David Rawlings is the Chief Cover-Up Officer. He wants to cover everything up, hide all their dodgy dealings and bad decisions. So the Chief Cover-Up Officer wrote a replacement motion for the Mad Goose. And so I did a point of order and said this is inappropriate. I believe under the legislation, if staff are going to provide advice to councillors, they should provide it equitably to all councillors at the same time. There's no reason why the Mad Goose should have information. But what made it worse was that Narelle, the demented goose, proposed that everything be done confidentially, behind the veil of confidentiality, secrets. Yep, do an investigation, but keep it a secret. So we've got public area and the private neighbour His land is contaminated with asbestos and silt and toxic mine water, which had high levels of aluminium and iron and what have you. And Narelle's response on behalf of the staff, not the people, on behalf of the staff, the chief cover-up officer, was, let's do this all confidentially. Cover it up, because guess who used to be the mayor when this dodgy quarry was secretly approved? Guess who was the mayor while all the shit was dumped in the quarry and on the land next to the quarry? And guess who was the mayor when it appears the asbestos contaminated dirt was removed from the council's sports ground construction project? A honky demented goose by any chance? So by now you're probably thinking, Andrew, that's like 11 codes of conduct in this one chat. Well, you're wrong. It's 11 codes of conduct in this chat. So you can write your code of conduct referral to complain about my language to olg@olg.nsw.gov.au and knock yourself out. I don't care. The code of conduct system is broken. It is ineffective. It has been abused, and it is completely defunct. Remember those 19 codes of conduct? Sorry, 19. Look, Mum, no hands. The 19 codes of conduct that were apparently put on me. Well, nothing's happened. They haven't even told me what they are still. It's nearly the end of March. So we're looking at October, November, December, January, February, March. 6 months. They haven't done anything. You know what the rules say? You must bring a code of conduct within 3 months. So if you must bring the code of conduct within 3 months, and that process requires the allegation to be put to the person of which you complain about, they're out of time. So the 19 codes of conduct are completely dead, unresolved, uninvestigated, unable to do anything about them. So the whole system is broken. I've broken it. I mean, if there was one achievement that I would make in local government, and it's breaking the most ridiculous control structure that had ever been invented. So, for the shoppers that are new, we're in Australia, southern New South Wales, and we're in local government. We're talking about local councils, Snowman and our regional council. We've got all these local councils, like districts, whatever you want to call it. And there's a law called the Local Government Act 1993, and then there's the Local Government, in brackets, General Regulation, close brackets, 2021. And there's a whole lot of rules about how shit has to be done, what you got to do, responsibilities, your roles, your rights, how you're elected, how you have your meeting, blah, blah, blah. And it points to a thing called a Code of Meeting Practice, which is a guidebook, not a law, and a Code of Conduct, which again is a policy or a guidebook. And they want you to abide by those things, but they are effectively anti-democratic, the most pernicious, ridiculous, long-winded, verbose, third word of the day, verbose, V-E-R-B-O-S-E, documents. Whilst at their heart, they are quite useful in setting out the rules of debate. I think they're stylised on Douglas and a few other things. So they set out the rules of debate. There's a whole lot of stuff in there that you're allowed to make a code of conduct complaint if somebody breaks one of the codes in the code of conduct or in the code of meeting practice. And so mine enemies went to town. But that's because they engaged in a conspiracy to try and get me kicked out of the council, which has failed. And so they've put in all these endless, I think there's probably up to 100 now, seriously, another month down. We had 50 in the first 2 months of the year, something like that. We must be up to 100 by now. And not one has been put to me. Not one. So it's all a load of shit. So the system's broken. Even to the point when I did that video last week about the Bombala water treatment plant, and Do-Nothing-Dunshea hasn't answered my question about whether or not he's referred the matter or the safety matters. But the week before, I was in Bombala for the Bombala show, and I dropped into the water plant on a Saturday afternoon because there's no fence, no security. It's a chemical plant, it's chlorine, fluorine, and iron, some kind of iron, can't remember what it is, ferrous sulfate or something. It protects the water pipes you put in the water. So these are nasty chemicals. When they're not diluted, when they're in the water, they're diluted and you can drink it. But it's a chemical plant. And there's things you can climb, and there's tanks you can fall into, and there's gaseous chlorine and electricity and the high power switchboards for all the pumps and motors. It's not a kid playground, and it was completely unsecured. So there is a water legislation, I can't remember which one it is. If you didn't notice, Australia is like the most legislation on the planet. It's insane. But there's legislation in the Water Act or something requiring water processing facilities to be secured, and ours wasn't. And I had a chat to the operator, who's friendly, told me a lot of information. I could see some of the defects with the site. It's just been recently, a new water plant's been constructed, and the old one will be turned off soon.